Hi, I'm Bill DeGiulio, and in this video I'd like to answer a few questions I've gotten on my Facebook page. Usually, as you know, deal in this channel with more intermediate to advanced topics, but I got some questions from a Facebook friend who actually is a relative, and I want to answer some actually fairly basic questions that this person asked. And this may be useful to other people too. If you're just starting out, these questions these answers, hopefully I'm providing, will help you out. Because I might have a different take on some of these than other teachers. Okay, the first question was basically, if I have a chord I want to play, how do I know which notes to strum and which notes to leave out? Okay, very good question. Let me refer you to a chord diagram. Here's an example. Now you'll notice in the standard type of chord diagrams that you see in books or online, there's the strings, of course, which is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth string, and the dots showing you what fret to put your finger on, and up at the top is telling you what finger to use. So for this D minor chord, for example, you'll notice I put my first finger on the first fret of the first string, my third finger on the third fret of the second string, my second finger on the second fret of the third string. Now the fourth string, is open, as you'll see an O at the top of that string. And you'll notice the fifth and sixth strings have X's over them, which means I don't strum those. Okay, I leave those out from my strum. So in other words, when I finger this chord, I want to strum from the fourth string down. So I'll demonstrate that. Here's what that shape looks like. And I'll strum from the fourth string down. So when playing this chord, I should leave the bottom two strings, the fifth and sixth strings, out of the chord. So unfortunately, with every chord you learn, part of knowing the chord is knowing which of those strings, you have to kind of memorize which of those strings you have to use. So for the D minor chord, as I described, a part of it is knowing only to strum the top four strings. Now, if you hit the other strings by accident, is it a big deal? Maybe not. In some cases, it may not sound too bad. For example, if let's say I forget and I hit the top five strings. That doesn't sound terribly bad. If I strum all six strings, the bottom note clearly doesn't belong in the chord. So after a while, when your ear develops, your ear will start to tell you which notes work and which don't. But until that happens, it's best to follow the diagram and only strum the strings recommended on the chord diagram. And as I said, unfortunately, it's going to be different for each chord, so you have to memorize which strings are supposed to be played. And a second question I got was concerning strumming a chord. Okay, I'll describe briefly how I do it, and something to keep in mind when strumming. I'll take the D minor chord that I just played. Now, one thing about strumming that a lot of people forget is to angle the pick so that it glides more easily over the string. So let's say I'm going to do a downward strum on this chord. Instead of holding the pick parallel to the floor, which has a real sharp attack to it, it's very aggressive sounding, and it's not smooth at all. Where if I angle the tip of the pick up toward my head, it glides more easily over the strings. And it works a lot more smoothly. Now, the strum motion actually is coming from partially the arm and partially the wrist. After playing a while, your wrist tends to get fairly flexible. So there's a bit of give in the joint. So you're not holding the wrist really stiff and strumming with your arm. The wrist should be fairly loose. And most of the motion in the beginning will come from the wrist. So as I said, I'm going to do a downward strum, and I'm pointing the pick upward so it glides easily over the strings. Now, I'll show you a couple basic strum patterns just to get you started. So let's say I'm doing a very simple chord strum pattern, which is simply one strum per beat. So let's say I'm playing 4 strums in each measure, for example, and I'm going to strum 1 time on every beat. So it simply sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's probably the easiest strum pattern you can use. Now let's make it a little more interesting, if you're up for it. This time, when I get to the second beat, I'm going to angle my hand downward and point the pick toward the floor, and because I'm going to be doing an upstroke. So I'm going to go down on the first beat. On the second beat, I'm going to go down, then up, then down again, and then down again on the fourth beat. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do that again. So notice I'm strumming twice on the second beat. Now notice I'm talking about doing 4 downstrokes or 4 down strums. But of course, in between the down strums, there has to be a movement up so you can prepare the next downstroke. It's just in most cases, I come up, but I miss the strings. So notice the first strum down, 1, I'm coming up, but not hitting the strings. 1, 2, so notice the second beat, I strum down, then on the way up, I hit the strings again. I'll do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a very easy strum. I'll give you one more example. This time, I'll strum down on the first beat, down and up on the second beat, down and up on the third beat, and just down on the fourth. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do that again. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll just continue to do it. I'll do several measures in a row so you can hear what it sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a basic introduction to strumming. And as I said, one of the important things to do is to make sure you're angling the pick, pointing up for downstrokes and pointing down when you're coming up. So the wrist is actually doing, and there is some forearm rotation there too. So the wrist and forearm are going to be moving with the strum to adjust the pick angle. Okay, so both the wrist and the forearm are turning. And it's going to feel a bit strange at first, but it's a matter of getting the arm flexible and building up your muscles and listening to the sound so you get it working after a while. Okay, so that's the real basic idea with strumming. Those are 2 basic strum patterns to use. And I would suggest doing it very slowly at first so you can control it. Now I'd like to talk about another question I got concerning what strings to pluck at which times. Now what this question refers to is what's known as finger picking. In the previous example, the strumming, of course, you'll notice I used a pick. Okay, that's one way to play. Another way is to use the bare fingers of the right hand to individually or in combination pluck the strings. And that gives a completely different sound. Okay, now, one way that the fingers of the right hand are referred to is by the first letter of their Spanish names. So this is also used for if you take classical guitar lessons or play classical literature. This is how the fingers are referred to, because in traditional classical guitar playing, picks are not used. So it's purely finger style in traditional classical playing. So here's how the fingers are referred to. The thumb is P. What we call the first finger, or the index finger, is I. Middle finger M. Fourth finger of the right hand is called A. Now in classical guitar playing, traditional playing, the fifth finger is not often used. But it does have and it is known by an initial if you do want to know that. It is known as C if it is used. But as I said, it's rarely used in classical guitar, and we won't be using it for any of our patterns today. So again, P, I, M, A. Now, here's the way this first pattern works. I'm going to play a C major chord on the guitar, and I'm going to use the following fingers to play it. I'm going to take my A finger, and that's going to be playing the first string. My M finger will be playing the second string. My I finger will be playing the third string, and I'm going to be playing the following pattern. It's going to be A, M, I, M. I'll do that again. So it'll be A, M, I, M. So that'll be playing the first string, second string, third string, second string. Sounds like this. First string, second string, third string, second string, first string, second string, third string, second string, A, M, I, M, A, M, I, M. Now you may notice if you're brand new to fingerpicking, that will take you a while to even get the hang of that. That takes a lot of coordination in your right hand to make that happen. So that would be the first step, just to play those four notes using a simple C chord, for example. It will work with other chords, but I would use the C in the beginning. Now, let's say you've gotten a good degree of familiarity with that. The next step is to do this. Let's add the thumb, or P. So what I'm going to do is, at the same time I'm plucking the first string, A, I'm going to pluck the fifth string with the thumb. So it will be A and P at the same time, then M, I, oh, excuse me, let me do that again. P and A, M, I, M. P, M, I, M. Or better yet, P and A, M, I, M. Fifth and first string, second string, third string, second string. I'll do that again. I'll do it slowly. Again, that takes quite a bit of right hand coordination even to do that. So that is a beginning finger picking pattern, but that may be challenging enough for some beginners. Now, if you do want to go to the next step, I'll show you what that next step would be. I'm going to do the same pattern, But on the 5th note that I play, when I play the A finger again, instead of hitting the 5th string with the thumb, I'm going to go down to the 6th string with the thumb and play the G on the 6th string. So I'll be doing this with the thumb. So when I put it together, it will sound like this. 5th string and 1st string together, 2nd string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 6th string and 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string and 5th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string and 6th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 2nd string. I'll play that again. I'll play it non-stop this time so you can hear what it sounds like. And a tiny bit faster. So there again, these are fairly basic fingerstyle patterns, but as I said, even these will take you a while to get comfortable with if you're relatively new to playing. Fingerstyle playing is a huge subject. It requires quite a bit of coordination in the right hand and plus coordination with the left hand. But I just wanted to give a very basic introduction to how this works so you can get started with it. In future videos, I may go into a little more detail. But this would be enough to get you started, just to get a basic idea going. And as I said, the whole idea is to do it very slowly at first and try to get it very even. You don't try to get a lot of volume out of your right hand in the beginning. Just get enough quiet enough sound so that you can hear it. Because by playing hard, you may tend to tense up your hand, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep it fairly flexible. Okay. Now, to get a really good tone, what a lot of people do that play acoustic guitar or play nylon string guitar will grow their nails and shape them in such a way so that when you attack the string, the nail is actually hitting the string instead of the flesh of the finger. Pardon me, that produces a different sound. And it's almost required for classical guitar playing because nylon strings have such a soft tone that the nail against the nylon string produces your standard classical guitar sound and gives the note a clarity, which can easily be heard. On steel strings, however, you can use just the bare fingertip. What you'll find is you don't have quite as much control because the nail gives you a little more accuracy when you're playing against a nail. Playing just against the flesh of the finger does not give you quite the degree of clarity, but it still can be done. And also, you may find if you do play aggressively that steel strings will wear down your nails quite quickly. That's why people occasionally will use plastic or metal thumb and finger picks if they play steel stringed instruments quite a bit. So I just wanted to give a basic introduction to those three topics. So again, what fingers to play on which chords, or I'm sorry, what strings to hit on new chords that you learn. Second of all, the basics of strumming and the basics of finger picking patterns. Now, if you want to go to the next step with these, one of the best things to do is to find someone to assist you with this, okay? Because these topics are quite a bit difficult to explain in a video, as you'll see. So, as you're seeing right now. So, a lot of times these are most easily handled in a private lesson situation or even a group lesson situation. So if you find that this video is not as helpful as you might think, you may need to get together with a private instructor at some point to give it a little more clarity or to answer any specific questions you have about playing. Everybody's hands are different. Everybody's coordination level is different. So if this video is not enough to get you started, I would strongly consider having a private lesson or two just to get you in the right direction, or to answer any basic questions you have to get you into the process. I hope this has been helpful. Any other questions you have, feel free to leave a comment in the video, and feel free to subscribe to the channel and to like the video if you've gotten something out of it. Thanks very much, and have a great day.